So for us personally, it would mean more money in our pockets to be able to cover some of those medical needs in our family. And I know there's a lot of different dashers across the board that are in very much the same situation we are.
We are back with The Big Deal, where we are continuing to analyze President Trump's tax and spending bill and what it will mean for everyday American families. Today, we're taking a look at no tax on tips, one of Trump's main economic promises from the presidential campaign. Here's how it will work. Up to $25,000 earned from tips can now be deducted from federal income taxes, but the amount that workers can deduct decreases for those making over $150,000 a year. $100 will be cut for every $1,000 earned over that $150,000 threshold. The policy starts this calendar year and it expires in 2028, just before President Trump is set to leave office. Spectrum News reporter Anthony DeBruzzi spoke to a Wisconsin woman who pushed hard for the no tax on tips policy by taking a trip to the nation's capital.
I'm here in Washington, D.C. today to support no tax on tips.
Coming from 25 years in the corporate world, Malachi Krajewski realized she needed more flexibility to focus on her son, who has type 1 diabetes. So her family decided to open a small business. And about a year and a half ago, she also started driving for DoorDash to help pay for medical expenses. Krajewski says the tips she makes on deliveries can make a real difference.
So for us personally, it would mean more money in our pockets to be able to cover some of those medical needs in our family. And I know there's a lot of different dashers across the board that are in very much the same situation we are.
Last month, as the president pushed to get something he could sign to his desk, Krajewski shared a stage with him and others who would benefit from the bill.
Among the countless citizens who will benefit from these tax cuts is Malachi Krajewski, a devoted mom and DoorDash driver from Ripon, Wisconsin, who uses her tip income to support her son.
It was a huge honor to be able to meet with him and be able to meet with everyone else on stage. Many of the people that were on stage were in very similar situations as myself. So to be able to share our stories, be able to meet the president and know that he is making it one of his top concerns was extremely an honor.
This bill will save Malachi thousands of dollars per year, enabling her to achieve her goal of visiting every U.S. state with her son. She wants to visit every state by the time he's 18 years old. So, Malachi, it sounds to me like you're off to a fantastic start. And where are you, Malachi? Where are you? Congratulations.
For Krajewski, it's a victory by making her voice heard. Anthony DeBruzzi, Spectrum News.
Joining me now with more on all of this is Garrett Watson, the Director of Policy Analysis at the Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan tax policy research organization. And Mr. Watson, about 4 million workers in the U.S. earn tips on the job. That's a big chunk of the labor force. We're talking about service jobs like the one that we saw, people who drive taxis and deliver meals and work in restaurants and salons and hotels. How much will they benefit from all of this?
Right. So we're seeing this deduction for tips worth up to $25,000 per person. And so that could be, for many folks working for tips in the occupations you just outlined, be really meaningful for them. If they have taxable income to offset, that will reduce the amount of tax they pay during tax time. But it does come with a couple of caveats. As you mentioned earlier, there are going to be income limits to this. If you're a very high earner, there is a maximum amount of tips you can deduct. And of course, if you are only taking the standard deduction, if you're a lower income worker, you may see less benefit from this because it's a deduction and not a tax credit that you're getting on top of your normal taxes. One other ambiguity we're watching closely is getting some guidance from the IRS on whether or not this deduction would mostly be taken during tax season when you file your taxes in the spring, or if we'll see withholding adjustments, which would allow tip workers to get that increase in pay, that deduction effectively upfront during the tax year. That can be really important for certain families and workers who are relying on that higher after-tax income during the year rather than during the tax season. So there's still several questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, I really do want to understand the winners and losers here. I saw that some experts are predicting that the policy will really help middle-class tipped workers save money, but not the lower-income workers, because lower-income earners already pay little or no federal income tax, right?
That's right. At the bottom 20% of earners in particular, many of which are working in tipped occupations, are getting the full value of the standard deduction and don't have much additional deduction to take. There's no income tax to offset, and so that will make it a more limited benefit for those workers. Though it may encourage them to work more, right? Because you're going to get that tax-free income. The other caveat is you still pay payroll tax on tips, so that those tips will still need to be reported. They'll still need to have payroll tax withheld. So there's still some tax being paid at the end of the day.
I want to ask you about a related policy. Workers under this new law can also now deduct income that they make from overtime pay with a cap set at $12,500. That also phases out for people earning more than $150,000. Who will benefit from that? No tax on overtime.
So the no tax on overtime, it's focused specifically on workers who are receiving premium for their overtime. So if you're getting a time and a half, for example, it's that extra half, that premium portion that you would get no additional tax on that amount. For salaried workers or workers who are exempt from those overtime protections, they will not benefit from this. And it comes with the same limitation that you need to have taxable income to actually take advantage of the deduction. So if you're a low income worker, it may have a more limited benefit to you. If you're a middle income or higher income earner underneath the income limit, this overtime deduction may be for you. Though it's worth mentioning, a lot of workers don't work any overtime or don't take tips, so they're going to see less of a benefit. It's a very targeted benefit to those two groups of workers specifically.
So now, as the new law takes shape, will employers have more reason to maybe pay less in the way of wages or keep the federal and state governments from raising the minimum wage?
I think that's going to be a key part of the debate to look at very closely in the years ahead, because it may be the case that tipped occupations may become more attractive to certain workers and the competition gets more intense. And that will create incentives for certain employers to, if they have the room, right, bid down wages. And there's an interaction there, of course, with the minimum wage. So we'll have to see how attractive these occupations become, how much more labor supply there is from those tipped occupations to see if that's actually an effect. I'm sure that's something that states will be watching very closely.
We're waiting for the Trump administration to publish guidance about how to report these tips and frankly, the overtime pay as well. What should our viewers know in the meantime about the policy, and what kind of paperwork should they be holding on to?
So a couple of things there. One is both of these new deductions are in effect for 2025, meaning in this tax year, when you file your taxes next spring, you're going to be able to take advantage of this deduction. Because the IRS and Treasury are going to have to get guidance out this year, it's likely you won't see much benefit in the meantime until we get to tax season. As I mentioned earlier, one big question is to what extent they might adjust the W-4 and W-2 forms for folks withholding so they can get higher after-tax paychecks during the tax year itself, so they don't have to wait for each tax season to get the value of the deduction. So I think that's one big thing. The other thing that hasn't been mentioned, of course, is these deductions are temporary. So they expire at the end of 2028. So you're only going to have a few years of this. They may be extended in the future, but that's where they're scheduled to last to. Okay, great guidance. Thank you very much, Garrett Watson. Thanks for talking with me. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.